course, is your usual suspect. It's halftime. Arsenal do lead by a goal to nil in their game against Bournemouth, but it's not yet done. So allow me do our routine, test our audios, and we discuss the first half affairs there as we have observed the moments that did come to us. I'll be interested in hearing from you what you made of that first half. Uh, your key moments. Are you convinced can Arsenal go ahead and win this particular tie? Or it's far from done? Excuse me. Obviously, the game is still far from done. Arsenal do just have that, very, very narrow lead of 1-0 at halftime. But it's been quite a bit of a dominant performance from the Gunners in the opening half, although there are not so many key moments that you can look at and see. You felt that Arsenal have been a bit edgy at the back and that kind of thing. But yeah, it is 1-0 at halftime. Declan Rice, for me, if you were to ask me, was your first half man of the match, he would, I think, take that. He's been really looking to push forward, and I think he's had 3 shots on goal out of Arsenal's 5. And then, of course, he did score that goal. Martin Odegaard redeeming himself, providing him with that impressive assist to score to make it 1-0. That's before halftime. That goal coming in the 33rd minute of the game, and that was the first shot on target for both sides. Well, I think it took 25 minutes for Bournemouth to have their first touch in the Arsenal box, and that was the missed header by Evan Nilsson. So Arsenal probed a little earlier than Bournemouth, but Bournemouth have been quite impressive in their press, in their building out from the back. It's been quite impressive to watch. Milos Kakes, Dinhausen in that setup sort of have been quite impressive. Although still you felt that if any side had the edge, it has been Arsenal. Not very dominant, I must say. They took a bit of time to sort of settle into the game, to find a bit of rhythm, because Bournemouth had that really impressive press. They were very impressive with their press. They really closed down Arsenal spaces. Although Martinelli looked dangerous on the left flank, you felt that oftentimes they denied him that space, or the interswitch between him and Leandro Trossard sort of left that space a bit narrow for them to operate in. Then Bukayo Saka has not really had any sort of impact. I do not think he's had the right footing in the game, and yeah, he's not yet really had an impact on this game so far. And I think in any case, he will be looking to do better maybe in the second stanza. When you look at ball possession overall, it's still 50-50, so that clearly paints for you the kind of picture that we have seen during the first half. And then, like I said, Martin Odegaard redeeming himself when he provides that assist for Declan Rice before, who goes on to round the goalkeeper. That is Kepa Arrizabalaga to score to make it 1-0 for the Arsenal. But then in the 30th minute, Kepa Arrizabalaga also on the line there did save Leandro Trossard's header off a Gabriel Martinelli cross. I think for some of the moments they've been able to create, they've been out of that left wing, of Gabriel Martinelli. On 2 occasions, bringing into play Declan Rice, and then on another occasion bringing in Leandro Trossard and that kind of thing. So I'll be really interested in hearing from you guys what you made of the first half. But for me, those were the moments. Of course, in the 14th minute, we had that Declan Rice attempt, goal begging. Of course, he put it wide of the mark. It was not on target, but that was, I think, Arsenal's first attempt on goal. And then Declan Rice's goal, I think that's his 15th goal in his 100th appearance for the Gunners since joining them from last season. That's as many goals as he managed in about 245 appearances for West Ham, where he played as a centre back and a holding midfielder. And his heat map has really been all over the place, all across the pitch, but more predominantly at the left side, at the left wing of that midfield where he does play, because you have Thomas Partey returning into the line, into the starting 11. That puts him at the pivot of the midfield, and then it gives Declan Rice that ability to play the box-to-box role, and then play as that left eight, making his usual runs. And then we've seen Lewis Kelly invert into that midfield quite often, although I do not think he's been as effective. He had one moment where he drove forward. Yes, like I said, the possession saying 50-50 does really paint the kind of picture for the game that we've had. Although you felt that Arsenal have had the edge, they've not overly dominated FC Bournemouth as far as affairs have gone in that first half, and pretty much that's it. I think that's Declan Rice's 8th goal of the season, and I think that's the highest he scored in a single campaign, and that's also equally telling. Then we had a blunder by David Raya, which he played a blind pass to Martin Odegaard in trying to build out from the back, and then Bournemouth stole possession or regained possession. They played in Evanilson, but Evanilson looped that ball, tried to loop it over the goalkeeper, and it went off the target. Hello, Pakistan, Kabajuso. I do not know how to pronounce your name, but thank you for joining us. Really, thank you. You're joining us from Pakistan. How is Pakistan? How has been your day? Do let me know. Do let me know how has been your day. How are you doing? Kindly also leave me a like on the broadcast. Kindly leave me a like on the broadcast. But it's been that kind of game. Now let me hear from you guys. Those of you that are just joining us, let me hear from you what you made of the first 45 minutes. Let's engage for as long as we're here before we go back into the second half. Mikel Arteta has been quite vocal down that touchline, trying to galvanize his team. But Arsenal will be very well aware that the team who have lost the most points in a winning position, I think as many as 18 points, and that came to make 18 points in their 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace, because they were in a 2-1 lead and they squandered that. So they are this time around in a 1-0 lead against an FC Bournemouth side who have only lost once away from home in the last 11 outings. So I mean, that's you sort of get the feeling that anytime AFC Bournemouth will get back into the game. But notably, when the starting lineups did come out, or the team squads, Jurrien Timber was a miss for Arsenal, which begged the question, what happened to the Dutch international? Well, he did suffer a knock in that game against PSG, so he's been left out of the matchday squad as a precaution, but he was in full training. They say it's nothing too serious, so he's just been rested, but let's hope that's the case. And then Ben White has not really been troubled much down that right flank or in the right back, although you felt he's equally not been at the top of his game. Because usually Arsenal, once they do have Martin Odegaard on the pitch and Bukayo Saka as well as Ben White, they normally tend to use that right wing predominantly. And yet that's not been the case. We've not seen that triangle of White, Odegaard, as well as Bukayo Saka. We've not really seen that in the first half, and maybe we'll be looking forward to seeing it in the second half. Thomas Partey, again, like I said, it's that kind of performance where you struggle to find the standout players, because either side have not been really that dominant. They've just been good enough to see the result that we're having of 1-0 at Arsenal, at halftime, to say that Arsenal had that slight edge in terms of going forward. Arsenal have been effective in terms of closing their backline. Of course, they've given away moments of goal scoring opportunities to AFC Bournemouth. Bournemouth just didn't capitalize on them fully, which I thought was quite concerning. Maybe they would look to do better. Maybe they will also look to the bench to bring on Antoine Semenyo, who has not started this particular game. for Bournemouth, because it is Dango Ouattara, Justin Kluivert, and Marcus Tavernier, as well as Evan Nilsson, that led the attack. And then Tyler Adams is in that midfield alongside Lewis Cook, Milos Kakes, Dean Howson, Zabani, Julio Araujo in that back four, as well as Kepa Arrizabalaga. On the side of Arsenal, not exactly what we predicted in terms of a expected starting lineup, because they've really started with a very strong side of Ben White, the only change in that back four, because Marius Kelly does get to start alongside Jakub Kiwior and William Saliba, then Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey, and Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Leandro Trossard, and Gabriel Martinelli are leading the lines. And then, of course, Mikel Merino that did start on the bench. Then they also have Nathan Butler-Odeji, Raheem Sterling, Ethan Nwaneri, and Alexander Zinchenko, Kian Tierney, Bryden Clark, as well as Tommy Setford, the goalkeeper there. Now, when you look at Arsenal's bench and wonder who probably they could bring in to change their fortunes, again, there's not really much firepower on that bench. Maybe you could look at Zinchenko in midfield to give Declan Rice a bit of a rest. You pull out Leandro Trossard and bring on Mikel Merino, maybe bring out Martin Odegaard and bring on Ethan Nwaneri, and really those are the sort of impact players you may look at, and maybe even Kieran Tierney at left back, and then give Miles Lewis Kelly a few minutes out. On the side of AFC Bournemouth, they have Will Dennis, Marcos Senesi, Adam Smith, Julio Sola, James Shield, David Brooks, Alex Scott, Daniel Gibson, and Antoine Semenyo. I think Antoine Semenyo, one of the danger men that could be summoned to come and change Bournemouth's fortunes, as well as Alex Scott, among those that they can bring on. We are back for the second half. We are resuming. Players have started coming back on. I can see the Arsenal players have returned early there. So let's get back into the second half. We'll get to discuss more of that action at full time. Depending on what result it will be. Remember, our prediction was a 2-1 victory or 3-1 possibly for the AFC Bournemouth there. So let's wait and see how things do transpire across the rest of the remaining 45 minutes. But be sure, I'll be back at full time. That will be at around, I can see AFC Bournemouth are making some half-time changes. FC Bournemouth players have also returned. There's been a bit of warm-ups there, but we are getting back. We are back for the second half, and action is coming underway. But be sure that we'll be here at after the final whistle. That's at around 9:20 p.m. East African time, or 9:30. We should be back here for another live broadcast to discuss more of that. I can see AFC Bournemouth players are getting warmed up, told to start preparing as we get the second half underway. Anyways, allow me to wrap it here. Enjoy the rest of the game. Bye-bye for now.